Slamming doors, green slime oozing from the walls. A demonic presence with glowing red eyes. We all know the story of the Amityville Horror. It's a tale that's been etched into our collective consciousness, the gold standard for paranormal terror that has spawned countless movies, books, and nightmares. But the sinister truth of what happened at 112 Ocean Avenue isn't about ghosts. It's about greed. This is the story of how the brutal, real-life murder of a family was eclipsed by one of the most elaborate and successful hoaxes of all time. We're going to separate the gruesome facts from the sensational fiction and uncover a truth far more disturbing than any ghost story. Before the alleged hauntings, before the book and the movie, 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, was just a large, elegant Dutch colonial house. It was home to the DeFeo family, Ronald Sr., his wife Louise, and their 5 children. To outsiders, they were living the American dream. But behind closed doors, the family was fractured by the volatile and often violent temper of Ronald DeFeo Sr. The family's eldest son, 23-year-old Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr., had a particularly tense relationship with his father. Their arguments were legendary, fueled by Butch's disinterest in the family's car dealership and his escalating drug use. That idyllic suburban facade was crumbling. On the night of November 13, 1974, it was irrevocably shattered. Around 6:30 p.m., Butch DeFeo burst into a local spot, Henry's Bar, screaming for help. He frantically declared, "You gotta help me. I think my mother and father are shot." A small group followed him back to the house, where they discovered a scene of unimaginable horror. Inside, police found the bodies of 6 people: Ronald Sr., Louise, and 4 of their children, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John. All of them had been shot with a high-powered rifle as they slept in their beds. The investigation was swift. Butch initially claimed a mob hitman was responsible, but his story quickly unraveled. Detectives found an empty box for a .35 caliber Marlin rifle in his room. Within 24 hours, he confessed. He told police, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop." He described methodically moving from room to room, executing his own family. One of the most chilling and debated details of the crime was the lack of any struggle. The rifle had no silencer, yet neighbors heard nothing, and the victims were all found face down in their beds. During his trial, Butch's defense attorney, William Weber, argued for an insanity defense, claiming his client heard demonic voices that commanded him to kill. It was a narrative that would soon take on a life of its own. The jury, however, wasn't convinced. On November 21, 1975, Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr. was found guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to 6 concurrent terms of 25 years to life. He died in prison in March 2021. The house on Ocean Avenue, now the site of an infamous mass murder, sat empty. The true horror of Amityville was over. But the story was just beginning. Just 30 months later, in December 1975, the story of 112 Ocean Avenue pivoted from a tragic crime to a legendary horror story. Newlyweds George and Kathy Lutz, along with Kathy's 3 children, bought the house for a bargain price of $80,000, fully aware of its dark history. They moved in, hoping for a fresh start. According to them, they got a nightmare instead. They claimed that their 28 days in the house were a relentless descent into supernatural terror. The alleged phenomena began almost immediately. A priest who came to bless the home was, according to the Lutzes, met by a disembodied voice that screamed, "Get out!" He later reportedly developed mysterious blisters on his hands. The family's claims grew more and more extreme. They described swarms of flies in the dead of winter, strange odors, and cold spots. Green slime was said to ooze from the keyholes and walls. Kathy claimed she had nightmares about the murders and even levitated in her sleep. George allegedly began waking up every morning at 3:15 a.m., the estimated time of the DeFeo murders. And their youngest daughter, Missy, developed an imaginary friend named Jody, a demonic, pig-like creature with glowing red eyes. After just 4 weeks, the Lutzes fled the house in the middle of the night, leaving most of their possessions behind. Their story might have remained local lore if not for what happened next. The Lutzes collaborated with author Jay Anson, sharing their experiences on roughly 45 hours of audio tape. In 1977, this became the basis for the book, Asterisk the Amityville Horror, a true story asterisk. The book was a sensation, selling millions of copies. In 1979, the film adaptation became one of the highest-grossing movies of the year, cementing the Amityville haunting in the public imagination. But as the story's popularity exploded, so did the skepticism. The pivot from a celebrated true story to a notorious hoax began almost immediately. Journalists and investigators started poking holes in the narrative. They found no evidence of police being called to the house, no record of repairs for supposedly broken doors and windows, and the priest, Father Pecoraro, gave conflicting and sometimes contradictory accounts of his visit. The most damning revelation, however, came from a key figure in the original tragedy, William Weber, Butch DeFeo's defense attorney. A legal battle erupted between the Lutzes and Weber over the profits from the book and movie. It was during this fallout that the truth began to unravel. In a 1979 issue of Asterisk People Asterisk magazine, Weber made a stunning claim. He stated, "I know this book is a hoax. We created this horror story over many bottles of wine." Weber alleged that he and George Lutz took the real tragedy of the DeFeo murders and layered fictional paranormal events on top of it. The goal, he claimed, was twofold: to create a lucrative story and to potentially help Butch DeFeo's case for a new trial by suggesting the house itself was evil. The evidence mounted. The family who bought the house from the Lutzes, James and Barbara Cromarty, lived there for a decade and reported no slamming doors, no green slime, and no demonic pigs. The only horror they experienced was a constant stream of tourists drawn by the book and movie. They were so harassed that they eventually had the home's address changed to protect their privacy. Every owner since has reported the same thing. The house is just a house. The story the Lutzes told was riddled with inconsistencies. The infamous Red Room, a supposed gateway to hell in their basement, was just a small storage closet. Claims of cloven hoof prints in the snow were debunked when weather records showed there had been no snowfall on the date in question. Though George and Kathy Lutz maintained their story was mostly true for the rest of their lives, they also admitted to embellishments. The Amityville haunting was exposed for what it likely was: a masterfully crafted work of fiction built on the foundation of a real American tragedy. The story of Amityville is a tangled web of fact, fiction, and financial motivation. It really makes you question where the line is between a true story and a good story. What's your take? Was the Amityville Horror real, a complete hoax, or something in between? Let us know your theory in the comments below. In the end, there are two Amityville Horrors. The first is the undeniable, heartbreaking reality of November 13th, 1974, the brutal murder of a family by their own son and brother. It's a story of domestic violence and psychological turmoil that ended in an act of almost incomprehensible violence. This is the truth of 112 Ocean Avenue. The second is a ghost story. A story born from an idea over wine, nurtured by financial ambition, and sold to a public hungry for a good scare. It's a story that has generated millions of dollars and almost completely overshadowed the real victims. The sinister truth behind the Amityville Horror isn't about a haunted house. It's about how easily real tragedy can be repackaged and sold as entertainment. The real horror wasn't a demon with glowing red eyes, but the cold, calculated decision to turn a family's darkest moment into a pop culture phenomenon. And in doing so, the memory of Ronald, Louise, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John DeFeo was buried, becoming little more than the prologue to a ghost story that was never true. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into one of history's most famous hoaxes interesting, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories you thought you knew.